At 7:18 a.m. local time, the Caribbean is unusually still in the way experienced sailors recognize right away. The sea is flat, the wind is light, and visibility stretches well past 10 nautical miles. For a U.S. Navy carrier strike group, conditions like these are almost ideal. Nothing is concealed, nothing feels unstable, and there is no visible reason for concern until the radar picture suddenly changes. Inside the Combat Information Center aboard USS George Washington, the routine quiet is broken by a radar operator. Multiple surface contacts appear at bearing 211, arriving almost at once. Not one vessel, not two, but 5 moving in a coordinated pattern that immediately looks different from normal maritime traffic. Their initial range is 21 nautical miles. Their speed is steady. Their course is converging directly across the strike group's planned path. No one makes a joke. No one asks for the report to be repeated. Civilian traffic does not move like this. On the bridge, the captain of USS George Washington studies the tactical display without changing posture. The carrier, a massive vessel of more than 100,000 tons, continues on its current course and speed. No turn, no increase in pace, no early maneuver. In Navy practice, changing direction too early can send its own message. It can suggest uncertainty. Automated classification systems begin sorting the returns by shape, structure, and radar signature. The result comes quickly. Venezuelan Navy. 5 naval vessels in a mixed formation. The range drops to 16 nautical miles. The surface warfare officer gives the update in a calm, even tone. The formation suggests a deliberate intercept. This is not a distant parallel track, and it is not routine shadowing. It is a blocking move meant to cross ahead of the carrier, limit its freedom of movement, and force a response without a shot being fired. It is pressure delivered through positioning rather than noise. USS George Washington sends its first call over the International Bridge-to-Bridge frequency. Venezuelan naval vessels, this is a United States Navy ship operating in international waters. State your intentions. There is no response, no static, no broken transmission, only silence. At 12 nautical miles, electronic support systems across the strike group show increased activity. Venezuelan search radars are clearly active now. Every signal is detected, measured, and recorded. Frequencies, pulse patterns, power levels, all time-stamped and logged. Inside the CIC, the mood narrows into precision. This is the kind of scenario crews rehearse again and again, where every move matters and every decision may carry weight far beyond the moment. A junior officer quietly recommends a course adjustment. The answer comes back at once. Negative. Maintain heading. USS. George Washington keeps moving straight ahead, not out of stubbornness, but because doctrine supports it. International law, operating procedures, and tactical advantage all favor holding course. Turning now would not necessarily reduce the risk. It would change the meaning of the encounter. Through long-range optics, the 5 Venezuelan ships are now visible. Gray hulls, low silhouettes, older platforms, but moving with purpose. This is clearly not a navigational error. They are testing response time, testing restraint, and testing whether a U.S. carrier will give way under pressure. At 8 nautical miles, no defensive stations are manned in a visible way. No alarms sound. Flight activity remains secured below deck. Above the waterline, everything looks calm. Below it, every system is alert. USS. George Washington is not answering with sudden movement or dramatic signals. It is answering with awareness. Every bearing shift, every radar sweep, every second of silence is being documented. The carrier does not need a visible maneuver to show control. Its presence already says enough. Then, quietly and without ceremony, a short internal order moves through the ship. Log everything. Shift to condition monitoring. From that moment on, the encounter is no longer routine. It becomes part of the record. And at sea, the record matters. The distance continues to close. 8 nautical miles becomes 7, then 6. The Venezuelan formation tightens. Each ship adjusts course in small, measured increments. No sudden turns, no erratic motion. Just disciplined movement with a clear purpose. Inside the CIC, the tactical plot updates in real time. 5 surface contacts, positively identified as Venezuelan naval vessels, are maneuvering to bracket the carrier's projected path. 2 ships edge slightly ahead of the group. 3 remain offset, spreading laterally. It is a classic blocking pattern. From a distance, it still looks almost peaceful. 5 gray hulls moving through bright blue water. No smoke, no visible commotion, but at sea, geometry tells the story, and this geometry is clear. These ships are not there to escort. They are not simply observing. They are positioning to deny space. At 5 nautical miles, their intent is no longer open to interpretation. A second call is transmitted, firm and controlled. Venezuelan naval vessels, you are approaching a United States Navy carrier operating in international waters. Maintain safe distance and alter course immediately. Again, there is no reply. What does change is their speed. Two of the Venezuelan ships add power, gaining several knots on the others. The formation compresses, the intercept angle sharpens. Their bows are now pointed slightly across the carrier's starboard side, reducing the amount of open water available ahead. In U.S. Navy terms, this is tactical pressure. It is a method smaller forces can use to compel acknowledgement from a larger one. The goal is not impact. The goal is reaction. On the bridge of USS George Washington, the watch team remains composed. Helm orders stay the same. The carrier holds its line, leaving a long white wake behind it. The reasoning is straightforward. A ship with better awareness does not surrender space without cause. Below deck, the strike group sensors remain fully engaged. Electronic warfare teams follow every emission. Surface warfare officers annotate every maneuver. Nothing is viewed alone. Every move is judged as part of a larger pattern. The Venezuelan ships begin sweeping their radars more aggressively. The spikes are unmistakable. This is not passive navigation. They are actively building their surface picture, and every detail is being observed in return. A brief exchange follows inside the CIC. Closest point of approach projected under 1 nautical mile if present courses are maintained. That is close. Close enough to attract headlines, close enough to invite speculation, close enough to test professionalism on both sides. Still, no alarms. Still, no course change. The carrier continues documenting everything. At 4 nautical miles, the visual picture becomes even clearer. Crew members can be seen on deck aboard the Venezuelan ships. Helmets. Movement near the forward sections. Nothing openly aggressive, but nothing casual either. This is not confusion. This is signaling. For Venezuela, the calculation is as political as it is tactical. A direct clash with a U.S. carrier would be dangerously reckless. But creating tension, drawing attention, and forcing Washington to respond publicly can still serve a purpose. For the U.S. Navy, the calculation is very different. Any movement without a clear need can raise the risk of escalation. Any forceful signal can be read the wrong way. In moments like this, control is not shown through dramatic displays of power, but through discipline. The carrier's presence already shapes the entire situation. At 3 nautical miles, one Venezuelan ship moves slightly ahead of the others. It is now clearly trying to pass across the carrier's bow. The maneuver is slow and deliberate, but there is no mistaking its purpose. Inside the CIC, the voices stay even. Contact adjusting course. Intent remains consistent with bow crossing. Roger. Continue monitoring. There is no panic in the reply, because tension in situations like this can spread quickly if it is allowed to. Above deck, the sea is still calm. From far away, it could look like nothing more than ships passing in open water. But beneath that calm surface, every second is being recorded and every action preserved. The Venezuelan ships continue to apply pressure. The U.S. Navy does not answer with visible reaction. And that contrast, pressure meeting silence, is beginning to define the encounter. Because at sea, the force that causes movement is not always the one in control. Often, control belongs to the side that refuses to move at all. As the range continues to shrink, the most striking thing aboard USS George Washington is what does not happen. No alarms, no sudden turns, no raised voices on the bridge. The carrier remains steady, its bow cutting through the calm Caribbean water, engines holding the same steady rhythm. To someone unfamiliar with naval operations, it might seem passive. To those who understand how the U.S. Navy works, it is something very different. It is control. Inside the Combat Information Center, the picture is complete. Every Venezuelan ship is tracked with precision. Bearing, speed, turn rate, sensor activity. Nothing is left to guesswork. The strike group's awareness reaches far beyond the horizon, supported by satellites, passive detection systems, and network platforms operating without drawing attention to themselves. This is how the Navy prefers to manage a situation like this, quietly and with full awareness. A report moves across the consoles. Air picture clear. No fast-moving aircraft, no rotary wing launch detected. That matters because the lack of aircraft activity says a lot. Venezuela is applying pressure, but doing it carefully. Close enough to provoke attention, but not close enough to create a clear trigger for a larger response. On the flight deck, there is no visible show of force. Aircraft remain secured below. Crews continue their routine movement. Nothing is done for appearance. But beneath the surface, readiness has shifted. The carrier's escorts, destroyers, and cruisers supporting the formation are fully aligned. Their sensors feed into the shared tactical picture, creating overlapping coverage on the Venezuelan ships from several directions at once. Every ship in the strike group sees the same situation in real time. There are no gaps. Electronic warfare teams continue to catalog Venezuelan radar signals, pulse repetition, sweep timing, power changes. What Venezuela sees as pressure is also exposure. Every second they transmit, they reveal more than they gain. On the bridge, the captain listens as updated projections come in. Closest point of approach estimates are refined. The margin is narrow, but still manageable. No maneuver is ordered. In the U.S. Navy, movement sends a message, and messages are chosen carefully. A junior watch officer notes still no change in their posture. Intercept geometry remains steady. The answer is calm. Understood. Continue logging. The Venezuelan ships are now within 3 nautical miles. Close enough to identify clearly without optical aid. Close enough that poor judgment could matter. Yet the carrier still does not alter course. This is not stubbornness, it is doctrine. By holding a straight and predictable line, USS George Washington removes uncertainty. Any unsafe move from this point on belongs entirely to the opposing force. Responsibility becomes clear, documented, and verifiable. Above the waterline, the encounter still looks uneventful. 5 ships, 1 carrier, open sea. But below that calm image, a different reality exists. The carrier's systems are active in layers, defensive, informational, analytical, not because conflict is expected, but because readiness is never optional. The Navy does not prepare by escalating. It prepares so escalation can be avoided. A quiet confirmation reaches the CIC. External surveillance and reconnaissance support is available on short notice. No one says more than that. They do not need to. The meaning is simple. Options exist, and options create leverage. The Venezuelan formation shows a brief hesitation. Not enough to call it a withdrawal, but enough to notice. Speed fluctuates slightly. Courses are adjusted again, as if they are searching for a reaction that still does not come. They are pressing against silence. At sea, silence can be unsettling. It offers no emotional cue, no reassurance, no clear sign of how the other side will answer. It forces the next decision onto the other party without revealing what follows. The U.S. Navy understands that better than most. The carrier keeps moving forward. Water breaks cleanly along the bow. The wake remains unchanged. Every radar sweep, every course correction, every second of the encounter is being preserved. Not for spectacle, not for threats, but for the record. And within that record, one reality is becoming harder to ignore. The side applying pressure is not the side defining the terms. The side that remains steady is. The decisive moment does not arrive with noise. There is no alarm, no raised command, no abrupt turn. From the outside, nothing seems different. The carrier stays on course. The sea remains calm. The Venezuelan ships continue closing at a measured pace. But inside the strike group, a quiet shift takes place. One decision is made, not to intensify the standoff, not to threaten, but to make the situation unmistakably clear. Inside the Combat Information Center aboard USS George Washington, the next order is short and precise. Authorize airborne presence. There is no urgency in the tone, no added weight in the words, just clear intent. Minutes later, the stillness on the flight deck shifts, not into chaos, but into controlled motion. An MH-60R Seahawk is brought up. Its rotor blades begin turning slowly, then build speed, slicing smooth arcs through the morning air. Deck crews move with practiced coordination, calm and exact in every motion. This is not a rushed response. It is a deliberate signal. The helicopter lifts cleanly off the deck, rising just enough to clear the carrier before banking outward. It does not surge forward or circle aggressively. Instead, it heads straight toward the Venezuelan formation at a steady altitude, fully within standard safety limits. Inside the Seahawk, systems activate one by one. Thermal imaging, high-resolution optics, precision targeting tools, all aligned and feeding live data. Everything is synchronized. From the Venezuelan ships, the aircraft is impossible to miss. A U.S. Navy helicopter, steady and controlled, approaching from the carrier's starboard side. No visible threat posture, no aggressive movement, just unmistakable presence. At 2 nautical miles, the Seahawk stabilizes. It does not pass overhead or create unnecessary disturbance. It simply holds position. A narrow green beam appears, brief and controlled. It settles for a moment on the bridge of the lead Venezuelan vessel. Not a threat, but a clear signal. You are being observed. Then comes the transmission, calm and direct. Venezuelan naval vessel, this is a United States Navy aircraft. You are conducting unsafe maneuvers in international waters. Your actions are being recorded. Alter course immediately. The message is repeated in Spanish. For the first time since initial contact, something shifts. On the lead Venezuelan ship, movement becomes noticeable. Personnel step forward on the bridge. Binoculars are raised. The wake at the bow begins to shorten. Speed drops slightly, then again. Across the formation, the effect spreads. One ship eases off its intercept path. Another adjusts course just enough to create more distance. There is no sudden turn, no dramatic withdrawal, but the pattern is changing. Inside the CIC, updates come in steadily. Lead contact reducing speed, formation cohesion weakening, closest point of approach increasing. The Seahawk maintains its position, holding a smooth orbit. Its sensors remain locked in, capturing clear imagery, hull numbers, deck layouts, crew activity, everything recorded and time-stamped. This is not intimidation. It is visible documentation. After a final pass, slow and unmistakable, the helicopter turns away and climbs, heading back toward the carrier. Behind it, the Venezuelan ships are no longer pressing forward. Their bows no longer angle across the carrier's path. The formation loosens and the pressure fades in small, undeniable steps. Back aboard USS George Washington, there is no reaction outwardly. No celebration, no commentary. The carrier never changed course, never adjusted speed, never signaled the shift. Because the objective was never to force a retreat. It was to define the boundary. No weapons were needed, no escalation. Just a clear demonstration that everything was understood, recorded, and under control. As the Seahawk touches down and its rotors slow once more, the Venezuelan ships continue drifting away. Still visible, still present, but no longer in a position to interfere. The moment passes as quietly as it began. From that point on, the outcome is no longer in question. As distance begins to increase, it happens gradually. The Venezuelan ships do not break away all at once. There is no sharp turn or dramatic exit. Instead, separation grows little by little. Courses shift just enough to ease tension without drawing attention. That detail matters. Inside the CIC, the tactical display reflects what is already clear. The situation has moved from confrontation to observation. The risk of close approach is dropping. The geometry no longer supports a block. The carrier continues forward, unchanged. The Seahawk is secured. Its systems are powered down. But the data remains. Every signal, every maneuver, every pause and hesitation has been captured. Not summarized, not interpreted, but preserved. This is how the Navy concludes an encounter, by completing the record. From the outside, it may look uneventful. No shots, no escalation, no dramatic display beyond a single helicopter. But outcomes at sea are not measured by noise. They are measured by control of space, control of perception, and control of risk. And by those standards, the result is clear. Venezuela applied pressure to provoke a response. The United States responded with discipline, removing uncertainty from the situation. The Venezuelan ships gained attention for a moment. In return, they revealed something far more valuable: their operating patterns, their command decisions, their limits, and how they respond to controlled pressure. They showed exactly how far they were willing to go. For the U.S. Navy, that information is more valuable than any headline. As the distance increases beyond 5 nautical miles, the Venezuelan formation settles into a parallel track, still present, still monitored, but no longer influencing the carrier's movement. No further calls are made. None are needed. The strike group continues along its planned route. Operations remain uninterrupted. Flight schedules stay intact. Escort ships hold their normal positions. The sea returns to the same quiet rhythm it had before the first radar contact appeared. But an encounter like this does not truly end when the ships separate. It ends when the analysis begins. Later, far from the Caribbean, the data will be reviewed. Patterns compared, assumptions tested, future responses refined based on what was learned here. That process is constant, careful, and largely invisible. This is what modern naval power looks like. Strength is not defined by who acts first. It is defined by who never needs to. USS George Washington did not maneuver to prove anything. It did not escalate to show resolve. It held course, maintained presence, and relied on professionalism. The Venezuelan ships approached a carrier strike group and encountered something more than a single vessel. They encountered a system, one built to observe, decide, and maintain control without urgency. As the final range markers increase and the contacts fade from immediate concern, watch teams rotate, logs are signed, and the carrier continues forward. No different from any other day at sea. That is not by chance. That is by design. Because when an encounter ends quietly, without force, without confusion, and without doubt, it means control was never lost. And in international waters, that is what matters most.